So I'm doing some air filter inspection. It's spring here in 2023, but basically you should check this after every season or twice a season to make sure that your air filter on your bike is nice and clean, especially if you're off-roading a lot of dust and dirt. So the first thing you're going to do is, for me, is I remove the two bolts for my rack here, which allows the pins to come out for the seat, and the seat comes off. After that, you're going to remove this black pin in here, and you're going to remove the screw here, and this should all come off here with the grommet, just like that. And then that allows you to get at your air filter box, which is there, which is pretty dirty. So hopefully the inside's clean, because your air intake snorkel is up here on the top of the air box. So you definitely never want to have water up past here, because it will go into your air box, in through the filter and into the engine, and then you're going to have a locked piston and damaged valves and maybe a bent crankshaft, or connecting rod I should say. So that's not a good thing to get water up into the snorkel. So let me get a screwdriver here and we'll get right back and take this panel off. Okay, so I've cleaned the panel off with a rag. Make sure there's no dirt or dust around the cover. Whoops, and that's how easy the cover comes off. You just touch it, and you can see it's kind of dusty here on the inside of the cover where the air intake is, down here at the bottom of the snorkel. Comes down. There's a lot of people that modify this, that hack it out and put a bigger snorkel. I mean, there's only so many cc's in the cylinder head here, so if you're trying to maybe change the valves or the camshaft, maybe you want some better air. There's another gentleman that mentioned on a website that you block off the intake port off the exhaust. So I don't know what to do, but you could see it is really dirty in here. So this air filter definitely needs to be cleaned. I changed the OEM filter to a DNA filter. It's the same thing as a K&N filter, but unfortunately I didn't find K&N made anything for the CRF300L, so DNA makes it, and that's what I put in here. So let me get a screwdriver to pop off these two little clips here, and we'll go at it. Okay, so I got a little flat screwdriver here. Just gonna pop that clip off and that clip off. That allows the casing to come out that holds your air filter. The inside of the air box is clean, so that means that's perfect. It's doing its job. It's the same size orifice. It's hard to see in here. Let me try and get in there. There's the air intake going into your throttle body. It's pretty much the same as the air intake here. And this is filthy, packed with dust, bugs, debris, leaves. So this is going to be a cleaning. And what's nice about the DNA or K&N filters, you just need to use the K&N recharger kit to clean it, and let her dry overnight. Do never dry the fabric with any high heat source. Let the cotton fabric dry naturally. It's the best way to do it. And then lightly coat it, because you don't want to oversaturate it and have oil go through your air intake where you have your mass airflow sensor, and get the heating element all screwed up with oil and gunk, which will give your ECM a false reading. So I'll clean this up and I'll come back tomorrow and show you the video how to install it. Okay, welcome back. It's basically been a day. I washed the filter overnight, and all I ended up using was the K&N cleaner. This is it here, the power cleaning. All I do is spray that on the filter and let it sit for, they say 10 minutes. I like to keep it for at least 15 to 20 minutes. As long as it doesn't dry out, you're good. Spray it well, let it sit for 15-20 minutes, and then you're going to rinse the filter from the back side, not the front side, and you're going to end up with a nice clean filter. As you could see now, compared to the other one the other day before, it was absolutely filthy. So now you can see through. It's not blocked, not cleaned. And so the next step now is, what we're going to do is we're going to oil the filter. And in the kit, it comes with the spray oil, or there's new kits now that you dab it on, but I like the spray. You get a better coat, even coat. And also with my DNA filter I bought, I get the grease, high temperature grease. You can use any grease. What you want to do is go around the edge where it seals on the air box of your bike. That way there's no penetration of dirt or debris. And as you saw yesterday inside my air box, it's perfectly clean. It's hard to see here with the light, but there was no dust that penetrated between the filter and the seal. So that's going to be the next step here, is to lightly oil the filter. So if you remember, this bracket here went in this way into the bike, it clips in. So therefore this side of the bracket's the front for the filter. So these little tabs here, as you can see, will fit in this way onto the bracket. So this would be the inside of the filter. So we're going to grease this side of the edge right here. We're going to grease this edge here because this meets and mates against the air box on the inside. So what we'll do is we'll oil on this side of the filter here. And you're just going to do very light coats of oil. Kind of hard to do this all with one hand, but basically you want to coat the filter very lightly with oil. And let it penetrate naturally. It doesn't matter if you overspray onto the rubber. You could wipe that off, but the trick is to make sure you just lightly spray the filter like that. You don't want to oversaturate the cotton. And like yesterday I mentioned, let it dry overnight naturally, because if you dry it with heat, this is cotton, and cotton, we all know, with heat shrinks, and therefore the fabric would then open up and allow dirt, small dust particles into your engine cylinder and through your throttle body and whatnot, and cause probably some problems down the road. So we're just going to let that sit for a little while, and then as that's sitting, we're going to just wipe all the debris off a little bit, so that way, not the debris but the oil. Let's see if I can do all this, set this up while I'm working here. There we are. So I'm just going to take a nice clean microfiber cloth, and I'm just going to wipe the excess oil off the rubber. It's not a big problem, but it's easy to do. And as it penetrates, you could see this side is penetrated very well. It's not too oily. There's a little light coating on your finger, so that's fine. But as you can see on this side, it's still white, so therefore it hasn't penetrated. So I'm going to go on the back side and just lightly make sure it's coated. All the fins on both sides are taken care of. This is where the issues that a lot of people online complain about is that if you oversaturate this so it's dripping with oil, what will happen is when the air passes through it, oil mist will hit your mass airflow sensor and contaminate the heating elements that it uses to send the feedback of the flow of air going into your throttle body. So that's where all the big issues come from that I hear online from people. So you just basically got to make sure that it is not oversaturated, but damp enough where you're covering all the fabric all the way through. And this way, you know, you're covered all perfectly. And this is what helps the small fine dust particles. There's a lot of people out there that say, does it work, does it not? I mean, you get some people that put this under like a vacuum cleaner and they're just sucking air through and they say, yeah, stuff comes through. But that's not how the air intake of a vehicle works, because as your pistons go up and down, it pulses the air. There was an Australian airflow engineer that explained how this worked. And since you're not just drawing air in like a vacuum cleaner, it's actually pulsating. If you think about the mesh as like this, basically when your engine's running, the mesh, is fine frequency moving like this, and that way it's grabbing all the air. And it was designed for basically dirt racing, because standard air filters used to clog up all the time. So somebody designed this, I think it was in the US in the desert racing back in the 50s, designed this filter that it works perfectly. So this isn't dripping wet, it's just slightly damp, and I could still see that since I spray lightly, it's hard to see inside here, I'm still not penetrating deep into the fins. So I'm going to give it another light coating on an angle. Make sure I hit all these things, because you don't want to have the cotton membrane not covered with oil. If you had all day or all night, what you could do is manually coat the top of the fins and let it drip through naturally. But we're doing this for the sake of it, so we're going to take care of this right away. And that way we're good to go. I think that's everything. There's no light color here penetrating. Make sure there's no rag dust as well. Okay, so that's taken care of. We've got very good coverage all the way through the fins, all the way down in the fin. There's no white cotton showing. It's a slight pink, red, covered all through. So that's well taken care of. And if I really wipe my hands clean here, there's no dripping excess oil. It's only shiny with a little bit of lubrication on it. So we don't have dripping oil out of the filter, which is what you don't want. So back to the next step. So now we know that on the Honda, this is the bracket on the outside, and the air filter is going to go in this way with the tabs down into the backs. So they lock through the back here. And the bracket sits here. So make sure these tabs are all the way through. Nice. This one's in, the other one's not in. I don't know why it is having given me a hard time here. There we go. So the tabs, as you can see, are through the bracket. We're through the back side. And if you remember, this clicked in the airbox this way and then locked up. So therefore, this side where the tabs are is where we're going to put a little bit of the filter grease. Any high temperature grease would work, because you don't want it. You want a high melting point, so you don't want to use a regular grease that the engine temperature will melt this off, and that's no good. So this is more like a high temperature grease. You're going to use a little bit of grease here, and you're just going to lightly coat the rubber part where it's going to meet the flange of the air box for the inside. This way, no dust or debris should bypass the filter. Everything will go through the filter. And at the same time, too, this helps to remove the filter. at the cleaning stage next time. And I think I'm going to have to up my inspections of the air filter, because I think I've only ridden the bike maybe 20 times, 15 times between last year and this spring. And it really got blocked pretty good. So I'm hoping we can see what's going on here. So in the back of the air box is two little, it's hard to see here. Sorry, my hand's in the way. Two little tabs where the inlets go. I'm just going to run my finger over where the gasket is. Make sure it's really clean of any dirt. You could use a rag, but that's what our fingers are for, right? So it's pretty clean. And like I said, on the inside of the air box here, it is very clean. So you know that the filter works perfect. There's no problems. There's zero dust inside. So I'm going to have to try and do this with one hand and hold the camera. If I can do it. I might have to put the camera down. Maybe not. Or maybe I will. I think I'm going to have to need two hands to lock these clips on. So I'll be back once it's in. Sorry, guys. Okay, sorry about that. I needed both my thumbs to really push this bracket in here to make sure I'm locked onto the tab, that it's solid. The filter is in here nice and solid, nice and clean. So now the next step we're going to do here is we're going to put back the cover. So that will go on here. And with the cover, we're going to put these screws back in. Basically, they're Phillips screws, 5 of them. And it's not really a hard job. I mean, start to finish, to inspect, remove, and even clean the filter was probably about a half an hour technically. So it's not time consuming. It's a good thing to do just after supper, and then that way once it's clean, you let her dry overnight, oil her, and put her back together like I am here in the morning, and you're set and done. So that's how easy it is to do the filter on a Honda CRF300L. And since I'm new to dirt riding last year, I have always had this in a car or a street bike, these filters, and usually they last a year, no problem. I don't even have to clean it. Sometimes I can go 2 years, 3 years in the car without having to clean the air filter, because it doesn't really get that dirty. So I've noticed dirt riding, since the snorkel is right here, it's sucking in a lot of the dust when you're trail riding, and it gets dirty faster. So I think I'm going to have to start inspecting this filter every month to see how it is. And once the month, maybe extend to 2 months and find a maintenance point on the bike. So you just want to snug these up. You don't have to go too tight, since you know that it's just a cover. It's actually the bracket of the air filter that actually makes the seal in the air box. So that's okay. So we'll get the rest of the stuff and we'll start putting it back together. All right, so that's done. We're going to put this panel on. So there's basically the screw here, the little black tab there, one of the grommet mounts there, one of the grommet mounts there. Then we can put the seat back on. Once the seat's back on, we can put the seat lock bracket here and go from there. So let me see if I could do all this with one hand. Probably not, but I'll give it a try, see how it goes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's in. Still got the screw. So I'll put all this back together, and that's how easy the job is, guys. So hopefully this helps you up, and post any questions down below and I can answer for you. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for the next video.